One of the most famous sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, on how men should treat women goes as follows: treat women kindly. For a woman was created from a rib. The most curved part of a rib is its upper portion. And if you try to straighten it, you will break it. And if you leave it, it remains curved. So treat women kindly. Though appreciated and promoted by scholars, this hadith remains significantly underestimated. Let's unpack it from a scientific point of view. Although often discussed in the context of marriage, the hadith itself addresses the treatment of women by men generally. Marriage is one important application, but the underlying principle may be broader, additionally applying to parents and children, brothers and sisters, teachers and students, and leaders and followers. The traditional focus on marriage likely arose from the assumption that the hadith refers to Eve's creation from Adam's rib. Some scholars interpreted this hadith literally, that women were actually created from a rib, while other scholars viewed the rib as a metaphor for differences in temperament between men and women. But there is a difficulty with focusing only on anatomy. The hadith itself does not cite any Qur'anic verse, nor does it explicitly mention Adam or Eve. And there is also a scientific challenge with a strict literal reading. Modern biology does not provide a compelling explanation for how an entire human being could be physically created from a rib. While believers may accept such an event as a miracle beyond ordinary natural processes, the hadith itself does not require that anatomical interpretation. The hadith begins with a command about behavior: treat women kindly. It ends with the same advice. So the central lesson is not on how women were created, but on how men should treat them. What if the rib is not primarily about biology at all? What if it was a warning against trying to forcefully reshape another person's personality? Relationships researcher John Gottman spent decades studying married couples. He found that criticism, contempt, ridicule, and constant correction are among the strongest predictors of relationship failure. In particular, contempt, belittling, mocking, or treating a person as inferior was one of the most destructive behaviors observed. Other research in attachment psychology has shown that repeated harsh criticism can contribute to anxiety, depression, emotional withdrawal, low self-esteem, and reduced relationship satisfaction. The closer criticism gets to a person's identity, the more damaging it becomes. There is a massive psychological difference between asking someone not to leave dishes in the sink overnight versus telling them that their natural way of thinking is inherently wrong. When guidance becomes a constant message of "you need to be a different person," the structural integrity of the relationship snaps. If this interpretation is correct, the hadith is remarkably consistent with modern psychology. The closer correction moves from behavior to identity, the greater the risk of emotional injury and relationship damage. This psychological damage isn't exclusive to women. Men suffer from relentless criticism too, but we react differently. While women often report emotional distress and rejection, men tend to exhibit intense psychological stress, like elevated heart rates, and cope by completely shutting down or withdrawing. In either case, the relationship dies. So why is the ancient warning directed specifically at men? Look at evolutionary history. Men faced massive selection pressure for status seeking, leadership, and decisive problem solving, traits optimized for hunting and defense. But that same masculine drive to immediately fix an engineering flaw can translate at home into exhausting constant correction. And this brings us to the ultimate counterproductive danger of the straight line. In anatomy, a rib is curved for profound evolutionary purpose. It is designed to flex under pressure, act as a shield to protect the most vital organs, the heart and the lungs. If you force a rib straight, you don't improve it. You destroy its engineering. It loses its ability to absorb impact, snaps and punctures the very heart it was built to protect. This is the trap for men. When a man tries to forcefully straighten his partner's core personality to match his own worldview, he isn't just harming her, he is destroying his own shield. He shatters the emotional safety of his home, and in breaking her, he punctures his own peace, leaving his own heart entirely exposed to the world. Natural behavior and intellectual diversity is a collective survival asset, not a defect to be corrected. Modern relationship counseling gives us the exact same advice: manage harmful behaviors, but value and protect harmless natural differences. 14 centuries ago, this profound clinical truth was captured in a single, unforgettable warning. If you try to straighten it, you will break it. So treat women kindly. We ask Allah to grant us the wisdom to see the value in our differences, the patience to restrain our urge to control, and the deep mercy to cherish and protect one another, just as we were created.